In 2019, a man walked out of a Thai prison, breathing the air of freedom after serving time for murder. And just 7 months later, he stood accused of killing again. This is the chilling tale of Somkid Pumpuang, known as Thailand's Jack the Ripper. How does a convicted serial killer slip through the cracks of justice, only to claim another victim? Today's story uncovers the dark journey of a man who terrorized Thailand, exposing the flaws in a system that failed to protect its citizens. Somkid Pumpuang's journey into darkness began long before his name became synonymous with terror. Born in 1964 in Thailand's Nakhon Si Thammarat province, Pumpuang's early life was marred by abandonment and instability. At the tender age of 8, his father left, thrusting him into the care of an uncle. This pivotal moment would set the stage for a troubled youth and a descent into criminality. As a child, Pumpuang exhibited disturbing behaviors that hinted at the monster he would become. Theft became his calling card, with the young boy pilfering items from those around him. But it wasn't just material goods he stole. Pumpuang became adept at deception, weaving lies to manipulate those around him. His actions didn't go unnoticed, and soon, the consequences of his behavior caught up with him. As he got older, things only got worse. In school, he stole his teacher's bicycle. Later, as a teenager, he embezzled money from his employer. That kind of behavior gave people a terrible impression of him. His uncle tried to scold him and straighten him out, but Somkid didn't seem to care. The villagers, on the other hand, had had enough. One day, a group of teenagers finally snapped, chased him down, and beat him up. And that was it for Somkid. He had to run for his life, leaving the village behind. And from there, things just spiraled. To survive, he turned to more serious crimes. It was a pattern that would repeat itself throughout his life, each transgression more severe than the last. Experts in criminal psychology point to Pumpuang's tumultuous childhood as a critical factor in his development as a serial offender. The abandonment by his father likely instilled deep-seated feelings of rejection and anger. These emotional wounds, left untreated, festered over time, warping Pumpuang's perception of the world and his place in it. Some believe the lack of a stable home environment and proper guidance during his formative years deprived Pumpuang of the opportunity to develop empathy and moral reasoning. Instead, he learned to survive through deceit and exploitation, viewing others not as fellow human beings, but as targets to be manipulated for personal gain. As Pumpuang entered adulthood, the seeds of criminality planted in his youth began to bear their poisonous fruit. His petty thefts and lies evolved into more serious offenses, setting the stage for the horrific acts that would eventually earn him the moniker Thailand's Jack the Ripper. The troubled child had grown into a dangerous man, and the dark turn his life would take was about to shock an entire nation. On January 30th, 2005, Thailand was rocked by a grisly discovery that would mark the beginning of a nightmare. Around 9 a.m., a horrifying discovery was made at a hotel in Mukdahan sub-district. Inside one of the rooms, the lifeless body of a young woman was found. Hotel staff quickly alerted the local police, who responded promptly with a patrol team. When officers arrived, they noticed signs of a struggle in the room, suggesting the victim had been involved in an altercation with her attacker. In the bathroom, they found the woman lying face down in the bathtub. Upon turning her body over, they discovered marks around her neck, indicated she had been strangled. The victim was identified as 25-year-old Waruni Pimpabut, a cafe singer who worked tirelessly to support her 5 younger siblings and parents. Waruni's income from her job wasn't much, so when a man claiming to be a talent recruiter approached her, she saw an opportunity and agreed to meet him. Witnesses, including her friends and hotel staff, confirmed that Waruni had checked into the Palace Hotel with a man. However, the man didn't leave any identification, which was unusual for a hotel guest. Police collected DNA evidence from the scene, including semen on the victim's clothing and lifted fingerprints. However, none of the samples matched records in their database. To make matters worse, the hotel had no CCTV cameras, a limitation typical for 2005 when surveillance technology wasn't as widespread. The only clue was the name the man had used to check in, Somkid, a common name in Thailand, making it difficult to trace him. As days turned into weeks, the case remained cold. Then, on June 4, 2005, nearly 700 kilometers away in the Muang Lampang district, another body was found. This time, the victim was a 34-year-old Pumpuang Sapchai. Like Varuni, she was found dead in a hotel room, her cause of death also strangulation. Pumpuang's personal belongings, including her cell phone and gold ring, were missing, just like Varuni's. An autopsy later revealed that Pumpuang had been pregnant. Not long after the murder in Lampang, the killer struck again, this time in the Muang Udon Thani district, 400 kilometers away. On June 19, 2005, a 37-year-old Pontawan Pangkabut, a masseuse, was found dead in a hotel room. Like the previous victims, she had been strangled and placed in a bathtub filled with water. Her personal belongings were missing. However, this time, the perpetrator was caught on CCTV. He was seen wearing jeans, a white and blue t-shirt, and a light-colored jacket, following Pontawan from behind. Believing he was still evading the police, the killer, now identified as Somkid, grew bolder. He targeted another masseuse, Sompong Pimpomperm, and charmed her with false promises of wealth and a way out of her financial struggles. Presenting himself as a wealthy man, he convinced her to spend 3 days with him, including a stay at a luxury hotel in the Muang Buriram region. 2 days later, Sompong was found dead in the hotel room, completely naked. She had been strangled, and police found several beer bottles in the room. In one glass, they discovered sediment from an anti-allergy drug. When mixed with alcohol, the drug acts as a sedative, which the killer likely used to incapacitate her. As with the other cases, her personal belongings, including her cell phone, were missing. By now, the police realized they were dealing with a serial killer, a con artist, and murderer. His crimes followed a pattern. He targeted women working as masseuses or cafe singers, lured them with promises of wealth, and left behind a trail of fear. They were predominantly women from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, often working in vulnerable professions. This socioeconomic factor played a crucial role in Pumpuang's victim selection process. These women, already struggling in their daily lives, were more susceptible to his manipulative tactics, making them easy targets for his deadly schemes. As the body count rose to 5 across 4 provinces, the hunt for Thailand's Jack the Ripper intensified. Police teams from multiple jurisdictions joined forces, determined to put an end to the killing spree that had gripped the nation in fear. However, the investigation faced significant challenges. The lack of advanced technology proved to be a major hurdle for the investigators. Unlike modern crime scenes, where CCTV footage often provides crucial leads, many of the locations where Pumpuang struck were not equipped with surveillance cameras. This absence of visual evidence made it difficult for the police to trace the killer's movements or identify potential witnesses. Furthermore, the investigation was hampered by the absence of a centralized database, making it challenging for different police teams to share information effectively. As Pumpuang moved swiftly between provinces, crucial details about his crimes were often lost in the communication gaps between jurisdictions. This lack of coordination allowed the killer to stay one step ahead of law enforcement, exploiting the very system meant to catch him. Despite these obstacles, the police employed traditional investigative techniques in their pursuit of the elusive killer. They meticulously collected DNA samples from each crime scene, hoping to find a match that would lead them to the perpetrator. Witnesses were interviewed extensively, but the killer's ability to blend in and quickly disappear made it difficult to gather concrete leads. Just when it seemed the killer might slip through their fingers, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. It was later revealed that the activation of a SIM card from one of the victim's stolen cell phones provided the critical lead investigators had been desperately seeking. Police were able to track the location of the call made using the stolen SIM card, finally putting them on a direct path to their suspect. This breakthrough led to the swift arrest of Somkid Pumpuang, bringing an end to his reign of terror. During his interrogation, Pumpuang cooperated with the authorities, admitting to the murders and revealing that his motives were primarily driven by greed and a desire for power over his victims. Somkid Pumpuang received multiple life sentences for his horrific crimes. It seemed justice had finally been served, and Thailand could breathe a collective sigh of relief. The serial killer who had terrorized the nation would spend the rest of his days behind bars, or so everyone thought. Within the confines of prison, Pumpuang underwent a transformation that would raise eyebrows and ultimately lead to a controversial decision. He became known as a model inmate, his behavior so exemplary that it caught the attention of prison officials. As the years passed, Pumpuang's seemingly reformed character earned him multiple pardons. Each pardon chipped away at his life sentences, gradually reducing his time behind bars. The Thai justice system's approach to rehabilitation and early release came under scrutiny as Pumpuang's sentence was whittled down to a mere 13 years. This reduction sparked a heated debate about the effectiveness of Thailand's early release programs for violent offenders. Experts in criminal justice raised alarm bells, arguing that the criteria for sentence reduction and early release were far too lenient, especially for individuals with a history of severe criminal behavior like Pumpuang. They pointed to studies on recidivism rates for violent offenders, highlighting the potential dangers of releasing such individuals back into society prematurely. Despite these concerns, the wheels of justice continued to turn in Pumpuang's favor. On May 17, 2019, a day that would live in infamy, Somkid Pumpuang walked out of prison a free man. The serial killer who had once struck fear into the hearts of an entire nation was now back on the streets, just 13 years after his conviction. The public reaction was swift and furious. People expressed disbelief and anger that a convicted serial killer could be released back into society. Questions arose about the reliability of the justice system in assessing the risk of reoffending among violent criminals. How could a man with Pumpuang's horrific past be deemed fit for release? The failures in the justice system that led to Pumpuang's early release in 2019 were numerous and complex. The Director General of the Department of Corrections announced a review of how examinations for mentally ill inmates are conducted, highlighting concerns about the assessment processes that allowed Pumpuang to be deemed fit for release despite his violent history. As the dust settled on this shocking turn of events, a sense of unease settled over Thailand. Pumpuang's freedom would prove to be short-lived and deadly, a chilling reminder of the consequences of a justice system that had failed to protect its citizens. On December 15, 2019, a grim discovery shook Thailand once again. The lifeless body of Rasami Mulichan, a 51-year-old hotel maid, was found wrapped in a blanket and transparent tape, with a chilling detail: a cell phone charger tied around her ankle. The autopsy would later reveal that Mulichan had been strangled, a method all too familiar in the case of Somkid Pumpuang. Just 7 months after his release from prison, Pumpuang had swiftly returned to his old ways. He had begun a relationship with Mulichan shortly after regaining his freedom in May 2019. Their connection, formed through Facebook, led Pumpuang moving into Mulichan's house a mere 13 days before her tragic end. This rapid progression from freedom to fatal violence highlighted the alarming ease with which Pumpuang slipped back into his predatory behavior. The events leading to Mulichan's murder painted a chilling picture of Pumpuang's inability to reintegrate into society. Neighbors reported hearing an argument between the couple on the evening before the discovery, followed by an unsettling silence. When Mulichan failed to leave for work the next morning, a concerned neighbor made the horrifying discovery of her body. As news of the murder spread, a nationwide manhunt was launched to recapture the killer. Witnesses identified Pumpuang as the man seen leaving the apartment shortly after the estimated time of the murder, setting off a frantic search. The urgency of the situation was palpable as authorities raced to prevent any further loss of life. 4 days after the murder, Pumpuang's freedom came to an abrupt end. He was arrested on a train after being recognized by an alert passenger. Surprisingly, he offered no resistance during his arrest. During police interrogation, Pumpuang confessed that a quarrel over a motorcycle had led him to strangle Mulichan until she lost consciousness, and then he continued until she was dead. In 2021, the case of Somkid Pumpuang reached its grim conclusion as he was sentenced to death for his crimes. Somkid Pumpuang's legacy serves as a chilling reminder of the complexities involved in preventing and addressing serial killings. His case shows the importance of thorough psychological evaluations, robust monitoring systems, and improved communication between law enforcement and agencies. As Thailand grapples with the aftermath of this tragedy, the hope remains that lessons learned will lead to meaningful changes in how the justice system handles violent offenders. And for his victims, it truly is heartbreaking that Somkid's victims were women who were simply working hard to make a living or seeking love and hope for a better future. Each of their lives was cut short unjustly, and their stories remind us of the vulnerability many face while trying to navigate through circumstances. May these women who endured so much find peace in the afterlife, and may their families who bear the weight of grief and unanswered questions eventually find the closure. It's important to honor their memories and bring attention to their stories, ensuring they are not forgotten. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.